There we go.
All right. There it is. Drew and I really enjoyed this chapter. I hope you guys did too.
Mhm.
So the first question is, what have you recognized now as a curse that you accepted as just normal life?
I think it came to me last night.
All right. You've been working on that for a week.
Yeah. It came in the class.
Okay.
Actually, it was either in the class or when we were actually doing the service. I can't remember. I accepted cynicism and skepticism. Cynicism, and I didn't sleep enough. Cynicism and skepticism. Yeah, I accepted those as part of who I am, and I think that really dictated negatively how I reacted to a lot of situations.
Okay.
Made me kind of a jerk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we must all have different interpretations of that question and how deep you want to go with it.
Sure.
Because yours, yeah, Drew's is quite basic. See, did you hear that? That's what I'm getting at my end. Ding ding noise.
No.
No.
So what did you get from the question?
Well, we just went through, well, when we first of all read that before we actually read the book, and so we wrote down a whole load of stuff, personal, really deep issues, which I've actually deleted off here now. But then when we read the book, the question, we just went through the actual 12 things, traits, and just kind of checked them off and thought, which ones of these apply to us then? I think that's what we thought that question meant. So according to those traits, then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them that we checked off.
Okay.
So like us personally, although like the things that run in the family were children taken captive. There's been children issues like abuse and paedophilia and stuff in the family. So, and now our children are both like unsaved and taken captive in a different way. So that's what we put down for that. Mental emotional issues runs in the family. My family have been in mental homes and stuff. No prosperity. Oh no, that wasn't in the family. A breakdown of marriage, divorce in the family. So we put those down, but also us generally here, just us two, tend to be very groping in the dark, no vision for life, no one to save me. That one, groping in the dark. That one, not having any, vision for life. Well, that's Tim's family actually. That one, he's just arrived home, but he's in the other room. His family, he's always been no vision for life, groping in the dark, and negative mindset and pessimistic. So there's two merging together there. So when you look at them, it's quite big, really, if you've got to break all that off.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So Drew's was quite small, ours was quite big. So depending how you look at it.
It took me a while to come up with it, because we were talking about it last week, coming up with the questions, and I'm like I've broken stuff off in the past, obviously, but it was like, okay, well, what am I recognizing now? And it wasn't until we were teaching last night, we're talking about word curses and things we've accepted over ourselves, and how many times I said, well, I'm just cynical about everything, or I'm just skeptical about everything, and I'm a cynic, and all these things. I was like, oh, yeah, that's something I accepted that I shouldn't have. And it wasn't until right now where I was like, oh yeah, that came to me last night. I should share that.
Yeah.
And edify the body.
That's very good.
Yeah.
I mean, mine, I'm sure all of you know, I accepted the curse of accident. I walked in it. I mean, even last night I was saying.
Everybody knows now, Karen.
Yeah. But even last night I was saying that I think it was after the 6th one that I said out loud multiple times, like, I've hit my quota. Like, nobody has this happen to them. I've hit my quota. I'm done. And then I still had, it was at least one, if not two more. It was either 6 or 7 that I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally accepted that as a way of life. Anybody else have a curse over you that you now recognize as a curse and it's not a way of life? Karen, are you trying to hop on? Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
you're talking to me. Okay. Yeah. Well, the one that really resonated me was the one that they mentioned in the book was like it seems like everything that I try to do or accomplish just falls apart.
Mm.
And I'm just like, because I was cursed with ADHD and I won't complete tasks. I'll have 1,000 tasks and I won't complete them. And I just kind of accepted that. And even though I rebuked, like, even since before this book, like, I do not claim ADHD. Like, I repent from ever accepting that as a way of life. But I
Sure.
still recognize that when I put my literal blood, sweat, tears into something, it still does not bear fruit or become or finished. So that was one. And then as I read through Deuteronomy 28, each curse one by one, I was writing them down to see, like, okay, which curses are like on fire right now? Which ones do I really need to focus on? And I realized I feel like, or I think I haven't had really time to sit down and meditate with the Father or but the number one, the very first curse is the basket and the bread, which is food, which is like the number one stronghold that I have in my life right now is food. And I'm like, of course, that's the very first curse in Deuteronomy 28. It's food. That's what I mean. All the genetically modified stuff and them coming after us with the food, but then other strongholds like overeating and emotional eating and such like that. So, but yeah, that's those are the two that really resonated with me. So thanks.
All right.
Let me share.
Thank you. Anybody else have a now recognized curse that you accepted as life that you want to share?
I would say the war in my mind. Like, I think I mentioned it in the book, something about like your thoughts, and I just wrestle with them all the time. And I just kind of, I guess I accepted that as a way of life, constantly in my head.
Yeah, that's right. We don't have to accept these.
So, not written down. Follow-up question: who's broken those curses now that you've recognized them? I just remembered mine.
Not
Like,
me.
so I don't have time.
Definitely not me. I have not.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't yet either.
I think that should be homework for the day.
Tim, what did you just say? What did you say? You said I wouldn't recognise them if I had. Is that you mean they wouldn't be there if you broke them? Yeah, but it's since finding that out.
Oh,
actually.
right. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
no, we haven't.
Right.
I mean, guys, there's no judgment here. When it was presented to me that, Karen, you've got a curse of accident, I still went 2 weeks and did nothing. And it wasn't until on the phone with Brother Dave again that he's like, sister, did you take care of this?
Oh,
No. I think about it. I know I need to do it, but it was really like the enemy was stopping me from moving forward. So,
Yep.
yeah. So if you need help breaking these curses that you know that you have, reach out to someone. I'm sure anyone in this book club would be glad to help. Others in the group, maybe your best friend, someone will help you.
Well, the one that stands out to me actually quite urgently now knowing all this and saying that, you know, like we just sit by and let it still be there and not break it, is the children taken captive. I don't know if you remember what I said about my daughter, where she's going
Yeah.
soon. So
Yes.
that actually stands out really now. She's taking a
Okay.
like holiday to, where is it? Istanbul, Turkey, and wants to go to an archaeological site that happens to be the other side of Turkey, right on the border of Syria.
Oh, wow.
I know,
Okay.
would you want to go there? Yeah, and it's like one of those horror movies, you know, which you've got to go in a bus for an hour into a.
Well, you know, hopefully she hears, because I've been to Turkey. I did Istanbul and Izmir, which is modern day Ephesus. And hopefully wherever it is she's going, she hears that, you know, maybe that's where the Apostle Paul went. You know, like when I went into Ephesus, our tour guide was like, yes, and the Apostle Paul from the New Testament, this is where he walked, and this is the arena he spoke at, and these are the streets. And maybe she hears something like that and it ministers to her.
Hopefully, yeah.
Karen, I hand.
Deborah said that she has no sound. What do you suggest she do?
Oh, turn your volume up.
Oh no, it's the bottom left hand.
Yeah. Well, no. Oh, as she can't hear us.
Yeah.
Audio connection, isn't it, Drew? How do you describe that, Drew? The audio connection, the bottom left hand.
Yeah, if she's not able to hear us, then yeah, I would check the volume. And I don't know if there's any settings. Yeah, it's all going to be on her end because we can all hear each other.
Can someone go in the chat and ask her to turn her volume up?
She's not got her audio connected at all. It's not showing as connected.
And you can't turn it on?
No, you have.
I suggest that she go out and come back in.
Yeah.
Yes. And I doubt it's Bluetooth, but if she's hooked up to Bluetooth and she's not wearing her Bluetooth, you're not going to hear.
Yeah.
She does
that's
not.
a good
And just make sure
suggestion.
Bluetooth.
Happens to me all the time. Not all the time, but a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, if someone, Kenzie, do you mind going back into chat and asking her to exit out, come back in, and tell her to connect Wi-Fi audio? I think is what that setting is.
Yeah.
It might be another
good.
setting. It might be another setting problem because of the thing I had to do this week. Sometimes it literally asks you to connect every area of the US and authorize whether it's going to be able to work on a phone. So yeah, so
Well,
it might be.
if it works for us, it should work for her.
Yeah, she's 15 away, 20 minutes away.
15 minutes away. But Karen, I saw your hand. And I still see it.
Oh, I can put it down. Yeah, so I was just gonna say, so I guess I am like at a okay, so I read the whole book, and I've even like gone into some more of his other writings or works, and I have a video I'm gonna watch, but I'm at a like a block, like, because I don't know what to do. So, and I keep like trying to figure out what to do, and it's not coming. So if somebody is willing to help me with this, like exactly how to enter the courts of heaven, I have not officially tried. I've talked to the Messiah about it, and it's, on one hand it's really exciting, on the other hand it's really intimidating, and I don't want to do anything that's going to disrespect the, Yeshua. And definitely, so yeah, so basically if anybody has time, if we could get together and maybe help me with that, that would be awesome.
Sure, absolutely. The one thing I would ask is, have you gone through a Sunday night deliverance? Oh, I see it says it's connecting to audio. Hey, Deborah, can you hear us?
Oh,
good.
You're muted.
You're mute.
Okay.
That's
Yes. But yeah, if especially going through the Sunday night, because it's so vast and extensive. I mean, ideally, it reveals a lot of things that maybe we didn't think about. And so if you haven't gone through one of those, if you just type in the search bar in the group 1029, it'll pull up last week's. It'd be a great one to go through. And if you have gone through one recently and there's still that block, yeah, reach out and we'll see if we can figure out what that block is.
Also,
Yeah,
Karen, those
Go
one videos, Karen, I guess Karen Elizabeth is who I'm talking to. Those one videos about that he does in the 7th series really touches on how to enter the courts of heaven and how to come against those curses and really, I guess, just entering in and how to work in it. So maybe she can try those.
Yeah, if you haven't watched those are great, especially the first 1, 2, maybe even 3. I can't remember. I
what
would
is
say
it called?
I'll tag you in it. How about that? Because there's a whole post or thread or something, and I can tag you in that. But it's entering the courts of heaven. He talks about how does this work, and the way I envision it, you know, especially about what in terms of generational type things. I was telling this to a young girl yesterday that when I envision we're entering into the court, and it like a court, just like a courtroom, you know, here that we have in America, and especially for generational, we're pulling that docket for someone else so that we can have it opened and we confess the sins. We don't repent, we just confess for the ancestor that brought this curse upon the family. We forgive them for it. But I just keep envisioning because whether this ancestor is dead or unwilling or walking the path of the enemy, they don't have the capacity to enter into the courts themselves. They don't have the wherewithal to repent for themselves. And so we are opening, we're pulling that docket off the dusty shelf, and we're opening it up, and we're shedding light on it. And I don't know, I keep getting the imagery that that's what allows Yah to move in their life, heal our own lives, because otherwise it just sits on a shelf, untouched, unused, unworkable. Anyway, that's the imagery that I get. Yes, Claire.
I was going to say, I'm very visual, so with me it was kind of easy. Whereas Tim tried it and he was like terrified, more or less. When he was terrified, thinking he's going to go before the throne, like really, really terrified. Was I found it still scary, but not terrifying. But I literally visualized, and I only watched the first video. Okay, so I'm just saying this very basically from child version. I literally visualized, because I've been to court before, so I visualized some big doors, standing outside, waiting there with official people that were waiting, and then they told me, now is it your time to go in? And it was very official, and I went in and I did what the steps that he said on the first video. That's the only one I watched. And I literally repented on behalf, like I felt like it was a little bit like you know, you're at the gallows, and if you don't come up with the right answer, then you're going to die, kind of thing. That kind of feeling, like I've got to come up with the right answer. But so I was quite scared, but I repented on behalf of all, and I was for a specific person. This was, yeah, and went through repenting for cursing and everything, and I was crying, really sort of very deeply repentant, but it was all because of imagery. Like I pictured being in the court, and I pictured being, the judge was up there on the throne, and there was, you know, like you're having a court, and there was a lot of official people around me, so I think that helped me, but maybe everybody's different. I don't know. But I've got my, this is how small it is. Look, that's all I've got is my little bit of notes, my steps. Take a screenshot.
Yeah.
That's my steps.
There you go.
That's, if anybody wants to take a screenshot, that's all I did, and that's from the first video. Everybody's got
Okay.
that.
Olga.
I just want to concur because I too have been seeing as I was reading this chapter, and even the chapter before, and I was thinking, what am I trying to get a full grasp? Because I never expected for the Lord to give me the picture of going into a courthouse with a suit on, and and I was trying to debate like what that really looks like, and I was talking to my daughter about it, and I was like, do you think, like, Esther went to the courts of heaven and she was fasting and praying, and she was on her face, and I picture her like on her knees, and her dress is kind of skirted out, and she's just seeking the Lord on her face. But she wasn't going to the Lord about the sins of the people. She was going to the Lord to save the people. And then I had this other picture, just like you guys have described, of in a power suit and going into a courthouse, and and pleading my case, saying this is what happened, and this is why it happened. And I don't know what all that means, because I've never had this word picture in my mind before, a vision in my mind like this before, where the Lord has given me a very clear picture. But I haven't done anything about that, because I'm still wrestling with what that looks like in right now, in today's world, with seeking, I don't want to say today's world, but seeking the Lord right now. What would that look like, as far as I've never thought about going to him as an attorney, so to speak. I'm not an attorney, but to go represent my case and say, this is what happened and this is why this has happened. But I've had a couple things come to mind of simple things that have happened as a little girl, and that I did as a little girl, that I feel like I need to go to the courts of heaven about. But how do you what does that really look like? And I keep seeing myself, when I have been to court before in the past, wearing my power suit, and I wrote a letter. I was going through a really nasty divorce, and not from me, he's a great guy, but going through a really nasty divorce from a very abusive person. And I remember writing, this is something the Lord's brought to my memory, is like writing a letter to the judge to explain, because you don't have enough time in a courtroom. You only have so much time before your time is up. And so I wrote a letter to the judge, and I had to go into the courthouse and have it stamped so he could legally read it before he came out. And he made all of I won the case, and I was like, is that what I'm supposed to do? Like, what does that look like? And I think every person would be individual with what I would do, or with what you would do, or it would be individual. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm just getting some of my thoughts out.
Yeah, no, and that goes really well with, essentially your question. You brought up so many of those points. I don't know that I've ever gotten the imagery of a power suit. I almost feel like it's, I don't think it's as far as sackcloth and ashes, but just humility. To me, power suit almost screams pride. I don't know. That's me.
Well, it's just a,
But maybe it's just a difference.
You see a lot of that in a court,
Yeah.
The attorneys, everyone looking their best to present themselves before the judge.
Yeah, but maybe you should be presenting your best, and maybe that does mean a power suit. I don't know. And I think that's where everybody's imagery is different.
Holy Spirit power suit.
There you go. Yeah. but yeah, if he's bringing to light things that you did or said as a young child, then yeah, I think you enter the court and you say, you know, Abba, I'm here before you to repent of this thing that I did. And at that point, like, that goes and pulls your docket off the shelf that has sat there. You don't look that old, but I know your children are older, so I'm just going to go with 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Yeah, so a long time ago. And it sat there and it's collected dust, but now we're going to pull it and it's going to be opened. And you're going to be able to present your evidence and hand it over to the judge. And here's my evidence. And that evidence is Yeshua's blood, his sacrifice on the cross. Does anyone else have thoughts on that? I know we're probably a little off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to get to a few others questions because I know we put 3 in. Claire asks, if someone is a Torah keeper, are they automatically going to receive the blessings? Please explain why. Gabbers.
Well, I put yes and no. Just my belief
That
is
is
that
Bruce all time. Most sides answer.
Ugh.
Just like
Yeah.
Claire's, what is it?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I think he hates it so much. I have yes and no answers.
yes,
Yes or no.
because hello, it's a yes and a no. So yes, obviously they're gonna receive the blessings because that's what's promised when we are keeping the Torah. But I feel like kind of like we all are coming to deliverance. There's things that we're gonna have to work out to access those blessings, and we're going to have to go to court, like you said, those 30-year dockets that have been sitting there for a good minute. It's going to take time before we realize like our authority to step into, then not unleash, but like the book says, unlock the destinies and the blessings and dissolve the curses. So yes and no.
Let your yeses be yeses and your noes be noes, Gabby.
Well, it's a yes and a no, and a yes is yes and a no is no.
You can't make it
all
better.
at the same time.
So how do I talk about that on Facebook now? Come on, I don't have a definitive answer.
That was definitive. Ultimately, yes, but no, if you're not walking, if you're not dissolving the Torah, if you're not dissolving the curses, how are you really going to walk in and get all those blessings that are promised to you?
So I feel like he just sent me this imagery. Again, it's yes and no, but you're outside
That's not enough.
and whether it's raining and you have an umbrella or it's sunny and you have a parasol, the rain is coming down. The rays could be hitting you, but you have this covering of curse over you. So it's yes and no, Drew.
Well, so that brings up, I think, an important theological question. Then, and this is up.
Oh, is that Archie?
This is up for discussion. It's not something definitive that I'm trying to point out. But are we saying then that the curses of the enemy are stronger than the blessings of Yah?
No.
Okay. I think that's a very important distinction.
No, I'm saying that you're not going to get. It's almost like kind of how Tracy said on that post, as far as like all the first they have experienced as a family, because they've been Torah for forever. But it's like once you're walking in that truth and spirit, it's a whole nother level. Like it's spiritual maturity in essence. Like you. So you have them, they're there, and they're storing up your treasures in heaven. But to me, I feel like it's like the ones who feel like was that the pastor's wife yesterday? I liked what she said as far as, well, if I just do good, I can get into heaven. Like it's not a point system, but how much authority are you walking in? And like the book said, Yah doesn't want to allow these curses to land, but if Satan has a lawsuit against us and we're not stopping it, then essentially he kind of gets to have his way. But no, I don't
Right.
think the curses are stronger, but I think once you recognize them and start kicking them out, then it's like kapow.
And I agree with you. Reason I brought it up was just to give it a little bit of a thought exercise and to make sure that we're focusing on blessings over curses. But I also understand that you know,
That's a
if,
rule follower.
that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
is that
that's what we
he's-
talked about last night.
Yeah, he's again exactly. That's why I was bringing it up. So
Yeah.
he follows his own rules. He set them in place, and because he is good and just, he's going to follow the rules he set in place.
Claire.
Well, I was going to say, like that's something that we see a lot. Well, I've seen, you must have seen it in this group, but we've been to various fellowships in the UK, and they've got different characters type of thing, and lots of them are very Jewish type, you know, Torah, and they're very much, you know, it's very much just the Torah, not New Testament, not the spirit-filled life type life. You know, the complete the church, as in New Testament church, is not in those fellowships.
Mhm.
They're very much, you know, just keep the Torah and you're blessed. And so I
Right.
think you said a key, whoever it was it Drew or Gabby, but you know, it's keeping the Torah and you know, the commandments, keeping the commandments and having faith in Yeshua both together, which it says in Revelations, you know, those two together. You can't be sort of the scales tipping towards just the Torah. You've got to have both. And so I think where people like trying to do those, do spiritual warfare, which we clearly see, Revelations 12:17 says, you know, beast is going to make war with the saints. So we're going to have warfare. Whereas I think there's some people that just think they just keep the Torah, just keep the feast, have a Shabbat, nice rest, and they don't have to do any warfare. They
Yeah.
seem to think that remnant is not them somehow. Or I don't know what they think.
Emotions.
It's checking box.
Yeah.
Yeah, checking boxes like at least in America, your average Sunday,
Sunday morning Christian.
Sunday morning Christian, just I checked my box. I went to church.
I ate the wafer and
Yeah.
drank the juice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they can't just be just relaxing and having a chilled life. That's not what Revelations 12:17, that those will be fighting with the beast. You know, whether that's physical fight, we don't know yet what happens, like where that's going to be. Where we know it's a spiritual fight, but they think they don't have to do that, and I think that's the difference. If we're living that life, then probably we don't have to actually break the curses as such. We don't need a book like this because we would be living that life anyway, if you get what I mean. That would be my answer for that question.
Okay.
What was it?
Oh, Olga.
You're muted, friend.
Oh, yep,
There you go.
still there.
It always takes a minute. I just always think of this verse, and I can't remember where it's at presently, but it rains on the good and it
Yes,
rains on the bad. So people that are good, they have good times and bad times. People that are following Torah, they have good times and bad times. And people that are who are not following Torah, they have good times and bad times.
Matthew
And
5:45. Matthew 5:45. If you want
Yeah.
to.
5:45. So it's just something good to think of, you know, when we're thinking about blessings and blessings over us and what that looks like. So that's
Yeah.
all.
And it's perfect because I think that matches Karen's imagery of
Yeah.
the rain or the sun coming down. Yeah, it's good. It's cool.
Claire also asks, give a scriptural example of someone repairing a broken covenant that removed famine and answered prayer. Oh, did we have that in our notes?
Yeah, I think everyone's raising their hand for it. But yeah, is it first or second Samuel with David having the curse broken because of what Saul did to the Gibeonites.
Yeah, yeah, and it took them 3 years to
There's-
realize, oh, it's a
Did
curse.
2 Samuel, I think, given the timeline, but I could be wrong.
Olga?
Elijah and Elisha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what do we see in that though? Do we see that it takes a time for them to realize that and for them to
Mhm.
action it? Is that a common thing in all those stories?
That would be worth digging into and comparing side by side, I think. That'd be cool.
Sorry, guys, I'm taking notes.
So I have something I want to say, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
When well, now we live in Florida and there were storms here. But I always like to there was a time when there was a really bad storm in North Carolina, and trees were being fallen, you know, all throughout the city of Charlotte where we were at. And you know, a lot of things were happening. People were losing power, and it was a big deal. It was all over the news, and we had a couple weak trees in our backyard, and we lived behind a big forest, and you could hear like the tree, it moving so heavy in the wind. You could hear the creaking, and even one of the limbs we heard snap. And I walked out there and I said, I command you by the authority of Jesus to stop. And all of the air stopped around us. But it was crazy. But then another time it happened, and I'm like busy. I'm helping take care of my granddaughter, and I'm busy with her. And my daughter, Claudia, comes to me and says, Mom, it's doing it again. Do you want to go out there and stop it? And I said, well, you're a believer. Why don't you go out there and stop it? And she opened the door and she said, what do I say? And I'm like yelling at her across the room, you know, I'm like, tell the wind to stop in the name of Yeshua. And the wind stopped. So you know, we have the authority to remove curses, you know, we have that authority. Gave it to us. So that's all.
Yeah, Karen, did you skip some questions?
I thought I would go all over,
Okay.
kind of skip around.
Yep.
Yeah. But yes, I did. I'll go back. I'm going to get some of Gabby's 1 million questions. Gabby was on it.
When
this
did you
week.
find time for that?
I know.
Was
I
it-
was driving
on the drive.
I didn't
Remember
say
all
anything.
week I've been sitting at a computer doing training. I was like, I'm gonna read my book on government time.
I didn't look at them. I've not looked at them.
Gabby's
missed a
got
whole load of
1,
questions.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7
Oh, no.
questions.
I'm gonna have to go and look now.
Let's see, which one do I want to start with? Ooh. This could be an interesting one. Why is Yah having to allow curses? Anyone?
I don't know. If I
Yeah,
oh,
Olga?
sorry.
To build character.
Okay.
I think that can go along with what I was thinking. Just if a lot of times I look at Yah and how he relates to us as a parent relates to their children, and there has to be consequences, right? Like you on a micro level, you know, look at any family. Parents set forth rules, children obey them and they get blessed, or they don't obey them and they get cursed, you know, for
Punished.
lack of a better,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
So that's how I, without giving it too much thought, take it. What about Tim and Claire?
If she's looking at the book, it says in the book on page 71 of the hard copy. It says, sorry, I don't know what copy you got, but it says, in other words, Satan is destroying and God is having to allow it. The Lord will only allow it until we take what Yeshua did on the cross, step into the courts of heaven and remove the legal right of the devil.
That's right.
And yeah, so I don't know if that's where she's getting that question from.
Okay. And I was going to say something more along the lines of Claire there, that again, to bring up what Drew and I talked about last night that he just mentioned, is he's a rule follower. We don't follow his rules 100%. He does, he can, and he will. And so if the rule is that if you do these things, it opens you up to the enemy, it opens you up to a curse, then that's the consequence. And I'm going to allow that until you break it. Deborah.
You're muted.
You need to unmute Deborah. Deborah. Do you know how to do that? If you click your screen, you can hit the microphone. Or Claire, can you undo her? There you go,
There it is.
Deborah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Now you're on.
Okay, so I'm going back all the way to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Did they themselves, when they fell, cause the curse, put it into action? Was it something that God had already, if they hadn't fallen, we wouldn't be living under a cursed world, right? So they, in my mindset, set the whole process of curses in action from the first moment where God cursed, gave verbally cursed them through childbirth for Eve, and then the ground for Adam producing the fruit. Is that where the root of the curses started? And in reality, that we made that choice, kind of, of starting the process, I guess.
So whether or not it was the root, I don't know.
Man, I can't hear you guys.
I don't know if it
We're
was
not muted, right?
no, I don't know if it was the root or not, because if the serpent was already there, well, no, animals were created. Okay, so if the serpent was already there, that means the fall has already happened, which means there's already been good people. So there's probably already at least the framework for blessings and curses. And like you said, maybe Adam and Eve set it in motion and actually
See, and
had that start from humanity.
I think, based on what you just gave your answer for, the parental-child relationship,
Yeah.
They were his children. They disobeyed. They got a consequence, which was a curse. Yeah, I think that did set curses in motion. And because they were living in blessing prior to the fall as obedient children.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at it, he did put in place the rules of, like, you don't do this and you don't do that. You know what I mean? And they broke it.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Deborah, I know you had a question. It says, I know the author doesn't address this is a curse for a curse, or a cause for a curse.
Yeah.
Recent events in my life come to mind as I read chapter 4. This came to my mind. The author doesn't address death or premature death due to a curse that had a legal right. Due to a curse that had legal right to the land. Yeah, so
I guess what I'm trying to say, was it due to a curse?
Sure, yeah. Do we think there's
land?
a curse for premature death?
Mm-hmm. I mean, my take on it kind of is, because kind of like the circumstances I'm talking about, but I actually believe that the death that I'm referring to was his time, but I don't necessarily agree under what circumstances that he had died. You know what I mean? So but the circumstances what led to it. But I don't know.
I think there can be curses of death. We know that if women go through with, say, an abortion, that brings in a spirit of death, a curse of death on the bloodline. And then you see their children and their children's children going through abortion. And obviously that's not the only way for a premature death.
Miscarriage.
Yeah, miscarriage. But even, you know, like Angie lost her 19-year-old son. Like that's very much a premature death. You know, others have lost 2-year-olds and 30-year-olds die. So whether it's a curse or a spirit operating, I think it is very possible.
So do you think a curse can put in action a spirit? That puts in action the spirit of death?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When I cancel, break, dissolve a curse, I then command all unclean spirits operating in that curse to leave me in Yeshua's name.
Okay.
I was telling someone else last night, like I envision like the marionette puppet master. Like that's all it is. It's a puppet master wielding events, scenarios in a person's life to keep you in a state of bondage. I'm going to go back to Gabby.
Side note, Karen, Drew, Brad wants to know, did you get his text message?
I replied to him. Yeah.
Oh, he replied to. Oh, I'm on his phone.
Okay. So number 8, when will there be a wholesale removal of curses? I decided to give an easy softball question. Do we remember?
When Yeshua comes back.
Yeah, when Yeshua returns.
I wanted to say something real quick. I kind of like thinking of like the last laugh, get the last laugh, right? Because if you die and you know Yeshua and you're a Torah keeper and you know where you're going, you get the last laugh. Because the adversary never would have crucified Yeshua if he knew what was going to happen. So he still hasn't gotten it. Even if he takes someone out that's a believer in Yeshua, they get the last laugh. Death didn't do what it was supposed to do. You know what I mean? He thought he was going to take him out and send him to the other place maybe, but that's not what happened.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to one of my questions. I'm curious what others have to say. The curse of missed promotion. Do others, not Yah's people, get the promotion because they don't have a curse on them, or because Satan already has them, so he isn't interested in stifling them? Or is he, Satan, putting his people in positions of power? What do you think? Olga. Almost.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
When I swipe to the right, my entire screen goes blank. So if I don't hit the right button, I don't know. It's a MacBook and I don't know how to fix it.
Okay.
So
Just replace it with a Windows laptop. You'll be fine.
yeah, we're not gonna do that. Like I got everything interconnected, my phone, my tablet, So when my husband, we went to Bear Creek, which is a deliverance ministry. They do prophetic deliverance. I think everyone should go there. I think it's really awesome deliverance ministry. And but they say that you have a strong. It does relate to this. So just give me a moment to get to that point.
Sure.
They say that you have a strong spirit, a stronghold spirit that follows you around from birth, is their belief system. From the moment you're born, maybe even at conception, you have a demonic stronghold that's already assigned to you. Yeah. So it's and that's their belief system. And we kind of believe the same thing. My husband worked at the same company for 17 years and didn't get any promotions. And he had the ability, people would get promoted and they would ruin entire departments. And he could have been promoted in those departments and helped build them up. And it wasn't until after we went to Bear Creek and he said, I see the assignment that is on you, and that is an assignment of hindrance. So everywhere, no matter what he did, he wouldn't get promoted. Like one time we were at a church and he played softball. They wouldn't even let him play softball with the other people, and he was good at softball, but they just kind of left him sitting there, and they were rude to him. It's like we were members of this church, and he started playing softball. I think you went to 2 or 3 games before he said, I'm not going back. It's been that way with his music, and it's been that way with everything, but not anymore. And after we went to Bear Creek, they shut that down, and now he's been promoted to manager, and he's in line to be promoted to manager. But that was not even, and we're in our late 40s, so that was not even the case for him to even though he applied for these promotions, he wouldn't even get interviews. So yeah,
Crazy, huh?
It's crazy. Yeah,
I didn't even apply for these jobs.
Yeah, the job he has now, he didn't even apply for.
Nice.
So
Hallelujah.
Are you saying that's an area like Bear Creek? Is that going to a different area then?
Yeah, it's a ministry. It's in Georgia. Yeah.
So I mean, what was it the change? Was it moving house to a different area, or was it, what do you think what it is? Because there's principality spirits, isn't there, over different areas as well? Like when you come into London, you literally feel like you're going under a dark blanket as you're driving into London. You can feel it. So I'm just wondering, what was that you changed then?
Yeah, my job did move from Charlotte to Tampa, so that's a big change.
That was a big change. But I think the biggest change was someone recognized that spirit had been assigned to him, and then called it down and commanded it to go. And so I think that was the biggest change with my husband here. Yeah. So, do you have another question for me?
That was good.
I believe that, though. I think that we are assigned, we've all got assignments. Like there's the, whatever you call it, dynamic in the world where everything has something living on it. Like whales have creatures living on them, flowers have little tiny creatures living in them. We've got spirits hanging on us, picking at us, and in the same way, I think, like everything has got an assignment. So from the minute you're born, you've got an assignment, and the angels have got an assignment, the demons have got an assignment, and we've got an assignment in this. We're meant to be listening to the spirit according to our assignment. And like Jules speaks about that, Jules Kathleen, she speaks about people's assignments a lot. And it was either plan A or plan B. Like, Abba will call you and to give you an assignment. If you don't respond, then he'll send someone else to do that. But I think that possibly when we're born, there's spirits, at least familiar spirits anyway, that are assigned to us. We have to hunt them down, find out what they are.
Well, and on that,
I was going to say something.
Okay. It tells us that we have our book written in heaven. That yes, we have an assignment.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, he's written out what he wants us to do. What
We just have to
our
find out what
purpose.
it is. Mhm.
Yeah. And I guess on some level the enemy knows that. And so I think oftentimes, not always, but I think oftentimes the ones that are afflicted the most are the ones with the higher calling. And they know what that calling is. And that's their goal, to steal, kill, and destroy, and prevent you from walking out what he has for you. But in specific to the question, I tend to lean more towards, let me put my glasses back on, that when the others are getting the promotion, it's not necessarily that they are, or it's not because they're walking in Yah's way and receiving blessing, but that maybe they don't have that curse on them. I'm sure in some areas it is that Satan is putting his people in power. Like I look at the government. Granted, I think a lot of those people have literally sold their souls to the devil, and he is rewarding them. But I think your average person who gets the promotion that they don't deserve is being done to further enact your, I don't want to say your curse, but the curse that's been on you as Yah's child to keep you down.
I want to make one small distinction.
Sure.
I don't think Satan rewards them. I think he uses them until he has no use for them.
Could be.
Yeah. Like you're saying, the one person that got promoted and destroyed the didn't make, they didn't make a difference. They made it worse, And so that in a way can work to the enemy's favor by putting the wrong person in position of authority.
Because
Yeah, that's
if
what I got.
going to destroy something, then he likes it.
Yeah, that's what I just put. I just put Satan. I'm sure I read it in the book somewhere, but I can't find what page it was on. And it said Satan uses legal right to hold you back so others can be promoted ahead of you. And it said it was from Deuteronomy 28:43, but I can't find what page that was on in the book. Don't know where that is. Deuteronomy 43.
What was the verse again?
Deuteronomy 28:43. That says the alien who is among you shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower.
Let's find another question here. How do we put Yeshua's verdict into place in our lives? Yeah. Olga?
It's fine.
I
We'll
think
give
we-
you.
I think we first have to realize that Yeshua's verdict is not what goes on in our heads and what goes on in our minds, because Yeshua is not thinking that we are awful, worthless human beings. And we have to shake that loose first before we can really understand what his thoughts are for us and how they pertain to us, because they don't pertain those things, that war that goes on in a lot of people. My head, it goes on in my head. So I'm just gonna leave it right there.
All right, Gabby.
Well, sorry, I'm having to go get money from the people who are fixing our dishwasher. But I was gonna say I like that example he gave of Isaiah, how he was in the throne room and seeing obviously the Almighty, how unworthy he felt, but then how the angel took the pole and cleansed him of that, and then he was like, absolutely, let me fight for you, I'll go to battle. And it's kind of the same. It's like the what do you call it, the beforehand foreshadowing of like what we should be doing with Yeshua's verdict that he paid for us, is get that fire to cleanse you, or that coal rather, to cleanse you of the unworthy, or like how we were telling y'all last night how when Brad was going through his stuff, I kind of had to repent because doubt kind of came over me as far as like, well, I don't know if I'm going to say the prayers right, or how do I walk him through, like, you want to get set free of like what's bugging you. And then kind of like backed out. I was like, oh, I don't know, you should call Drew. And then it was like last night, the Holy Spirit took over and didn't allow that to happen. And I had to just step into it and just let him lead me. And so it was like that same thing as far as like, you can do it. Like for me, I guess it was confirmation that you can do it. It's like, it's going to kick in once you're in the midst of it. Stop thinking about what it has to look like and just follow me. And so
Sure.
Well, and so much of last night, Gabby, was the Holy Spirit just giving us all lessons just like that.
yeah.
You know? Oh man.
Yeah, it was
All
Yeah.
right. Deborah's
Deborah's
hand is
hand
next.
That's right. Deborah, you're up, sis.
I was gonna say, I think just really getting it, that I think it really just kind of like hit me of him saying, you're not guilty, you're not guilty. That I think we within ourselves, or even society, or even coming from the backgrounds that we've come from religion and stuff, can make you not really grasp a hold of some of the things that are in the word, like him, Yeshua actually taking upon everything that he says, that we're free, and that, because I don't know, for me, I'm one of these people that sometimes carry around a lot of stuff, like these suitcases full of stuff, or burden on my back or something, about things that have already been taken care of because of what Yeshua did on the tree. And then you start learning about all the things that we have access to if we just knew, all these things that never is spoken about, like in regular religious situations and stuff like that, that we don't, you just kind of skim over these things and you scratch your head and think, oh, I'll ask him about that when I get to heaven, and so I think just continuing to seek his face and allowing him to lead us into, when he led us out of our desert to our promised land, of getting into Torah and understanding that, and then it's leading you on to whatever, inside ourselves. We know there's something more that we're not getting. We just know, because of the relationship we have with Yah, that he keeps leading us on to the next thing. And now it's, learning about prophecy and deliverance, and how do we actually access those things, because it's never, we can go our whole lives, live and die, and never even knew that these things were even available, that we had, that we're able to take authority of these things that are in our lives once we know what they are.
Sure.
That we never had any inkling within ourselves, or unction, or any kind of like what a curse actually was. What is that? You hear about it, you may read about it, but what actually is that? And then you start understanding how it affects all these other things, and why we are stuck in situations or circumstances. So I think it's so exciting to just go ahead and take all of this, what we're learning about the curses and then deliverance and declarations and all these things as a whole, and applying them all. And I think it's just so powerful, because we can impact our life, our children's lives, and the people around us by doing it and
Amen.
living it as a lifestyle. It's like it's part of our DNA that was always available to us, but we never knew it was available to us.
Very good word. Claire, I see your hand. Tim, one of you.
It was me. I put, we do this, how do we put Yeshua's verdict into place? We do this by faith through our declarations and decrees of the scriptures, and of any prophetic words that align with scripture that we've been given about our life, and also walking in the assignments we've been given. So for example, if we've got fear, we've got to step out of that and walk in the assignment. Stop agreeing with anything that's been, any negative things that have been spoken over us, but only walk in and agree with the positive things. Yeah, sure. So we're ambassadors basically, so we've got to go and do that. We've got to go and do the work.
Okay. The thought that came to my mind, and I've already mentioned it before, but how do we put Yeshua's verdict into place in our lives? I again envision it as I'm walking into court, and I'm going to have my docket pulled, but I've got my evidence that I'm going to present to the judge. And that evidence is that Yeshua died for all my sins, and took the curses with him. And so that's my evidence to have that released off of me. All right, let's see. Let me go to Gabby. Gabby had a bunch of questions here. Ooh, okay. What does it mean if something should naturally occur but doesn't? That's a thinker there, Gabby.
Oh, I just pulled it from the book.
I know.
But can I say that when I was reading that, not only, you know, marking off all the ones that might be affecting our family, I sent it to my friend who has had, and we've talked about, like, she's pretty sure it might be generational curse or something through her bloodline, but just like undiagnosable sicknesses and illnesses that the doctors are like, oh no, you're fine, everything's fine, the blood work's fine. But obviously she's like, I'm not fine because I know that I am dealing with these issues. And so I sent her the whole bit about the sickness. Like, there may be a curse on you that you're not able to get healed. Even, like, you've identified that, yes, this might be spiritual because we know that nothing in the natural is working. But and so, but also there, like I was telling Brad last night, there's another part of it that they're not doing as far as keeping the commands and walking in Torah because they feel like they don't have to. So, you know, I was like, there might be part of the roadblock, but also I sent it as far as like, hey, you know, I'm not saying this is what's happening to you, but maybe look into this, because even in these curses that are in Deuteronomy, I've circled a couple for our family that we're going to go back and pray on. Wanted to share this with you. And so she was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, that was a lot to wrap my mind around, but it's giving her something to think on. And now she wants to read the whole book. So
Good. Good.
Sorry, that wasn't post-it note.
Yes. Nothing's been post-it note today, but if you can try, Olga, come on. You're gonna find it.
If you want to just stay muted, that's probably okay.
He's like showed me 3 times. This is where you unmute it.
She can't do it. It's impossible. Here.
Step in there, man. You get in there and you do it for her.
She has to learn.
I have a lot to say about the sicknesses because I feel like I am that person. I could be your friend that I am constantly sick. My family is sick. We're dealing with sickness right now, and I'm not sure how to break away from it. And now at 48, I feel like this is going to be the rest of my life, and it's saddening because I know that God has a bigger purpose for us, and I know God has used us wonderfully in the past in ministry. And so I mean, I know, like, this is not what it's supposed to look like, as me waking up 90% of the time and feeling like I'm like so sick. And my daughter, my 19-year-old, has been diagnosed with double Lyme. So she's 2 types of Lyme, you know, and she's got one active and one inactive. I have something, I don't know what's wrong with me. One day I'm fine. The next day I'm so inflamed and my body's all messed up. And then my other daughter, I mean, she's just having, you know, a terrible time. But I know that, I mean, in our family, like in our family, there's a lot of witchcraft, like with my eldest daughter, who's 32, there's a lot of witchcraft. With my brother-in-law, there's a lot of witchcraft. It seems like when we were doing full-time ministry, things were sent to us. And when I started getting sick was when we were doing full-time ministry, and witches were actually being sent to our ministry. And so I'm not sure, I don't have much to say about that, except I know how we live on a daily basis is not what's naturally supposed to happen. When I feel like we're supposed to be really heavy in ministry, we have a gift of evangelism. We have a gift where we can go into a church and not nitpick it, but we can see where God wants to change and improve and make it more than what it is. And I think that is an apostolic gift. I don't want to call us apostles or prophets or anything like that. I'm just saying we do have these gifts, but now it's stalled. Everything is stalled. So I don't have
Now, Olga, as I was reading the chapter, number 8 stood out to me for your family. The 8th sign of a curse is no anointing or diminished effects of the anointing. And that one really stood out with the things that we've talked about. I don't know. Did you feel like that one got you? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to go back. I have to look at it. I'm a visual person, so
yeah. Clearly, on some level, so am I with all these imageries and pictures coming to mind.
But Olga, your story's the same as me, actually, Olga. Like we had all of that going, and something
true.
stalled. Yeah, something stopped. With us, the thing that suddenly stopped it was people were saying nasty things about us and telling us to stop telling us nasty things, and it was offense. And I don't know if you had that happen to you at all in your story. Yeah. So that's the marker. Like when you do deliverance and stuff, you or healing, and you say, how long have you had that for? When did that sickness come on? Automatically, when they say, oh, it was when I had the crash, or it was when my grandma died, or whatever, that's the thing normally that causes it. So if we put our own medicine to our own story, look at when it started. It was when that happened, when people told us, terrible stuff, and we had like basically enemies suddenly came, not just spiritual enemies before, but like real enemies. So yeah, we're on the same page as you, like with needing, like my body's the same, weird stuff going on. But as soon as you started talking, the first thing I was going to say, it sounds a bit blunt, but the man has the authority. I've seen so much happen when my husband prays for my body. It completely changes, and he can even walk up to me. Literally, Tim's he's just gone upstairs now. He's just gone because he was tired. He came in from work, but he can walk up to me, and without even like laying hands on me, with the this desire, like that he's going to actually pray, and the pain will go because he's not even prayed for it. It's this demonic, the demons or whatever it is leaves straight away before he even prays. And he's also been in a room praying for people, and he's also walked up to people and pointed, like when he's not praying for them, other people are praying, and he's walked in and he's pointed across the room, and the demons have actually looked at him. And I mean, that's just a normal thing, for deliverance. He's just got that. We've always nicknamed him the Demon Slayer, but personally, like, I mean, just as a husband, they have the authority. So I don't know. In my house, we have a problem with that. We have a problem with the authority, the headship and stuff. So that's the only thing I can say is like to make sure you work on that, and try and help him to step up with that, with laying hands, casting out demons and stuff. Yeah.
Deborah.
Is it okay if I bring up about Steve Hemphill, the guy that does the stakes? Okay. I just recently, I've heard about this before, but I never looked into it, and then I came across a video, and this man God is just using him in a powerful way of helping people to understand that they need to take authority over their land. And he has had someone opened up the opportunity to him to have these stakes made with scriptures on it, and you go to the four corners of the property and do and stake the property, and it's just taking authority over the land. And a lot of people have come to him and said, hey, I'm having problems sleeping, I'm having nightmares, and talking with them and everything, he figures out, I call it like diagnosing, but figuring out that they have issues on their property and it's physically affecting them. And then after doing that, they don't have any more problems unless they allow something to come back in and then they have to redo it. So I can send a link to the YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out.
It's
You can buy the.
already in the group.
I'm sorry, it's already in
It's
there.
we have
Oh,
the
okay.
video saved in the group. We have a link for purchase. I have 1 or 2 testimonies
Mhm.
all
Okay.
saved. Yeah. In the
Okay.
featured posts, or in the featured post in that thread. Oh, is it? It's probably just called staking, and it's got all the different links. Yeah.
And one point that we always make about it is that the stakes really mean nothing. It's
Right.
the
But it's the
the
act of
act of
like
going out
going.
and doing it. And
Right.
what's really cool is
Right.
I had it. Steve Hemphill posted something else not earlier this year. It didn't sit well with me, and I had questions about it. And I just sent him a message like, "Hey man, can you kind of explain this, because this is what I'm thinking." And he was like, "Hey, can you call me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So called Steve and like so he's like, "Hey, well, here's kind of where I'm coming from with this and why I do it." And it put my mind a little. I didn't necessarily agree with all of everything he had to say, but it put my mind at ease a bit too. So what's really cool is he's a very genuine guy who you can just call and he doesn't know you and he'll explain to you why he does things. And
Have we talked to him twice?
Because
Because otherwise, the question was very specific. Hey, we had someone say this is a talisman.
Oh, that's right, we did. But no, this was about something else he was doing. He was
So
like,
you've talked to him twice.
maybe you talked to him once, I talked to him once. But anyway, it's beside the point. Point being, he's a super genuine guy who just wants to help people be free and stay free. Really cool.
Yeah. I don't know that any of us actually answered the question.
What was the question? Was that when I was out there?
What does it mean if something should naturally occur?
Oh,
but
we're still on
doesn't?
this one.
Oh, so look, I found my notes. I wrote it's a sign of a curse. That's what page 66 said.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I am really loving the actual discussion we're able to have. This has been really good and enlightening.
Yeah. Since Stokes is here, we don't have to rush out there to.
Yes.
We can take time and actually discuss.
Yeah, he was talking about which is actually which I circled it for us, number 6. And I wrote the garden, our finances, as far as no prosperity, the lack of harvest from efforts to produce. And so you're saying we're not just talking about supernatural harvest, but just something that should naturally occur. The sign of a curse is you don't even get what naturally should occur. I was like, dang.
Sure.
So,
And this is a question that just came to me, and maybe I wouldn't even have it if I had actually gone to scripture to read as a whole, chapter 28. But did anyone else feel like a lot of these points he made kind of overlapped?
Mm-hmm.
Like the prosperity and the promotion? Or I don't know, did anyone else feel like that? Like maybe this could have been 10 curses instead of 12?
Mom.
I see. Yeah, that's wow, that's cool.
You already know I agree with you on that.
But again, my yes, Olga, my
Prosperity is different from promotion. Prosperity is like when you're gaining, like if my husband gets a bonus for say $500 versus getting a bonus for $100. That's that's prosperity, things coming to you in that way, or things lasting a lot longer, your clothes not wearing out, or your appliances lasting for a longer time and not breaking down. But promotion is where you're seen with favoritism, when people see you and they're like you like God said, Yahweh said, I'm people will have favor upon you. He said that with Abraham and many other people inside. It was favor. His favor was upon them, and that is promotion. Is when Yahweh's favor trickles So that's my thoughts
Nope,
anyway.
sorry.
See, and I equate both to money, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it's more than just money. Promotion brings in more money, prosperity. You know. On
Well, I
some
think it
level.
also through promotion, it not necessarily more money, but it elevates you to a position of authority in a sense where
Okay.
you have influence on say beforehand you had like the nagging micromanaging boss. Well, and so they kind of were an oppressor to you. And you know, once you break that off, then you know something happens where they lose the job and you gain the favor and get the promotion, and you can be not as far as a right ruler, but you can operate in spirit and in truth and kind of lift that oppressor's curse off of the entire office. But I also feel prosperity is like your land thriving, your children thriving. I don't necessarily, because he tells us, you know, not what's the word, not to serve mama and like you can't have two masters. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel when is always talking about prosperity that it is financial gain per se, but other areas of your life thriving. Like, you know, our garden didn't thrive because also it was my fault. I didn't plant it at the right time, but you know, that's lesson
We were talking
learned.
about last night, Gabby, with when we were outside the restaurant and talking about that couple that lives in between Turkey, and they live completely off grid by themselves, with
and everything is thriving, and they're thriving, and
exactly.
And to me, I feel like that, like while I was watching it, it was, I guess, kind of a revelation y'all gave me as far as like that's what prosperity looks like. It's not always what the world tells you it looks like, but they're doing fine financially because of YouTube, but they're still living as if YouTube wasn't there to provide for them, if that makes sense. Like their garden is thriving, their animals are thriving, and they're using every resource that y'all has given them to prosper. Yes.
I believe they're, you know, if y'all don't know this about me, I see everything, or I at least try to see everything as, you know, the spiritual and the physical, you know, working in parallel, right? So if I think about spiritual prosperity, I think about things like walking in the gifts, realizing what your spiritual gifts are, being able to utilize that in order to bless and edify and disciple others too. So there's prosperity there as well that I think is important, that we recognize. And I say that because it's still all so fresh and so new. And I'm constantly seeing things revealed. And again, not to keep harping on last night, but even from last night, we keep seeing things revealed. And I feel like we're in a, in the midst of getting into some real spiritual prosperity, and coming into that and realizing that and seeing what Yah is doing with his people and being blessed enough just to even witness it. I realize more and more how, like, my career is just there for a paycheck, you know, and I don't want to say like it's secondary because it's important because I've got a family to provide for. But you know, I want it when it comes to promotion, I want to promote the kingdom. I want to walk deeper in the spiritual gifts. I don't really care about the government. I say I don't care about it because then I don't want, you know. But working as a federal contractor for the government, having to go through background checks that like rip apart my entire history just to get some access to fix something that I probably never will really have to touch, just kind of loses all meaning for me. You know?
I say, when you're talking about all these things, the only like we've had prosperity, as in like I'm trying to sort of zoom out because we're nearly 60 now, and we had like Tim was actually like an architect's assistant, and he was earning like £1,000 a week, so we had a lot of money coming in. We had prosperity. We still have prosperity, as in we can give away bless people large sums and suddenly it comes back, you know, all of that happens. Prosperity in Revelation, and we've had prosperity. I don't know, I'm just labeling it prosperity. So I guess I'm answering your question. I think yes, they all are merged, actually, all those questions are merged together. But prosperity, you know, or blessing in having multitude of different training and teachers who are really well renowned, and they've all come to our house for some reason. So we've had lots and lots of training, lots and lots of, and it's been invested in us. And so I can't just leave that. I have to use that. So I've now got a big, and I've had lots of dreams and lots of so much stuff, and so I've got a lot of passion to use that. However, the one thing that we seem to have, which affects all of those things, is learning difficulties, both of us. So that other lady who's not on here now about ADHD, that's the thing that I suffer with or battle with and try and deny and everything, overwhelm. But part of it is because of Tim with his, not his, what he's fighting with, is the label of Asperger's, which Asperger's comes from like a multitude of problems, learning problems, and they bunch them all together and give you a label called Asperger's or autism or whatever they want to call it. But yeah, both of us seem to have sort of learning difficulties where that's what's causing us a problem with prosperity, because we can have the money, but if you don't understand how to do anything with it, then you're stuck. That's what I'm saying. That's for our problem. So how would you you know, that's our one curse, if you want to put it, that we're trying to deal with. Yeah, because we've got like the money, the friends, the connections, the abilities, everything, but it's not the learning ability to know how to do it, you know. Yeah, we've kind of opened up a can of worms, I think. We were saying post-it note last time, but I think we haven't said this for the last 2 weeks now. Last week we had a lot of talking with no post-it notes, and this week's longer. So I don't know what to say. But yeah, what do you reckon, Drew? I don't know how to deal with that, because that's affecting all of our prosperity areas.
Can you recap a little bit? I got pulled out for a second.
Basically, we have prosperity in every area where we can have prosperity in. Like Tim had a really good job. Where he was a site manager, so he had come home with the architect's drawings, the drawings of the whole massive shopping mall or something. He'd have them across the table, and he was earning £1,000 a week, and we had lots of money. However, we couldn't use it because we've got the learning difficulties of not knowing how to do things, not knowing how to get a mortgage, not knowing how to buy certain things, do basic things, houses, travel, car, transport, how to buy a car, basic stuff. So yes, we've gone on a downward journey for our lives where we just stick to the basic stuff now. And so we live in like missionary, I guess, style. We're very, very basic, forget about all the stuff, because we can't do it anyway. We can't do the buying a house, we can't do the buying a land. We've kind of opted out of all of that because we don't have the ability in our mind to do that. So it looks like we don't have it looks like we have poverty, but it's not the physical poverty. It's we've got it all at hand if we want. I mean, he doesn't have that job now because he's taken a different job, a very easy, just a driving job. But the point is, the reason why we hear it is because we opted out of taking that turn. Instead of going left, we went right. We didn't go that way because we didn't understand, because of learning difficulties. So that seems to be our sort of curse, is on both of us. I try not to speak more because I'll start crying.
No, it's okay. I'm processing it.
Like when I met him, he was one of the most prized men in the church. Everybody wanted to marry him because he had such a high paying job, and they all, when I started going out with him, I dated him, like I asked him out, and they were going, we're gonna have a massive ring. But when you find out we got married, there was a huge debt I had to sort out because of learning difficulties. And it's the same with me. I'm very capable. We're both very capable. he's very capable in prophecy and in casting out demons.
Yeah.
And evangelism. We've done so much. We've had people come here. We've had people. We've had blessings. People. All the what I just said a minute ago. Renowned trainers of house church evangelism, healing, deliverance, all come to our house. We've had lots of blessed with so much stuff. But what fails us is the difficulties to be able to actually manage that. Yeah, so don't know. That's where we're stuck.
Well, this goes. It reminds me a little bit of what Karen and I were talking about last. Hang on a second. She's coming back in.
Coming back.
Is recognizing the blessings within the curses, and if you say, okay, well, we live at these means here because of learning difficulties. Okay, well, the blessing there is that you're not focused on worldly things, right? Your focus is on the kingdom. Your focus is on your relationship with Yah. Now, if you're at a point where you feel like you're stuck and that you're being spiritually or financially stifled or set back, then yeah, that sounds like there could definitely be a curse there. So then it's what steps do we take to break through that, and then does that bring you then to a place of financial prosperity as well as spiritual prosperity? Maybe the destiny, for lack of a better term, is that you have both. That's what we work on. But I mean, it's all stuff I'm just kind of talking out as it's coming to my brain. Don't take it as gospel.
I mean, I will say I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about, but what I hear him saying reminds me of all these car accidents I've been in. Yes, was due to a curse.
Yeah.
However, in the end, over the years, I was blessed with about $20,000 worth of money.
But
Y'all still blessed me through the curse. Is that my zippy?
The testimony that you have has blessed so many people too.
Sure.
So there's a.
But my point was, even in the moment.
Right. Yeah. Well,
back. I mean, is when the first one, not that one, but the second one, I think I would have been. I might have just turned 18. And so even in that moment, I walked away with $3,500. Like, he still blessed me through being cursed.
My point was not to negate what you were saying,
Sure.
but to say there's the spiritual and the physical walking in parallel. And
sure. Yeah. But again, my point was, because you had said something like trying to see the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Trying to see the blessing and the curse.
Yeah.
And I'm only trying to emphasize that in that moment, yes, I can see that things are so much different now. Yes, I'm able to bless others through my testimony, but in the moment, I was still able to see the blessing in the curse, even though I didn't recognize it was a curse.
Yeah.
Right. It's good.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's another question. Otherwise, I mean, we've been on an hour and a half.
It says on the group that the this meeting's finished now.
Oh yeah, it does. I think I put
time.
in there a time frame of about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I said it as an hour and a half, and it says the meeting is finished, so nobody can join now.
Oh, well, bummer. Excuse me.
Well, they can join. They still can use the link.
Yeah, they can still click the link. Gabby, I see your hand while I'm looking.
I do have it on mute. I was gonna say, I think I wrote one that was the why must we be very cautious about who and how we are connected with. Because I thought the example he gave was pretty dead on.
All right, what's the answer here?
Oh, I just read what on page 76 he talked about like his testimony, but it's connections in the spirit are legal and allow other blessings or curses to operate. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the, don't just let anybody lay hands on you, especially if you don't know who they are.
Sure. That was good. The question I was looking at of yours is, what is the purpose of the malady curse?
Yeah.
I don't know that I remember his answer, but
He's on
my
page
answer
69.
would would simply be his purpose is to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah, to destroy you.
Is that the answer?
Yeah, that's what he was on
Okay.
page 69. Yeah, the
Alright.
purpose of the malady with a curse at its root is to destroy you. And that was about the sickness. Like the curse that is legally allowing the disease must be removed before the sickness will leave.
Okay.
And that kind of accounts to you, Olga, because then it goes on to say there can even be an anointing that is present. It will not have the desired effect until the curse is lifted.
Yeah, Olga, come on.
So how do you know what that curse is? Like, is it the curses? Because I know, like, okay, so Ralph and I went to the same Bear Creek thing, and then they removed whatever was on him, and he's doing just fine, and actually excelling in a lot of areas. And then the things that they moved upon me, it still feels like I'm still stagnant. But how do you know what those curses are? I know like there were a lot of word curses put upon me. I know there have been actual real curses put upon me. I don't know, like, are there curses that have been, I know even something the Lord has brought to my mind recently is that I used to have this incredible deep, because I had a baby at 15. I've been married and divorced twice, and so I used to have this idea, this belief system that I was the worst person on the face of the planet, and I would constantly say it. And this was at the very beginning of our marriage. And I mean, I don't know how many times he says, you have to quit saying this about yourself, quit talking like this in front of the children, he would say. But for years I would say, all I saw was this, like, I don't even know, I don't know how to explain it was almost like, because all of a sudden I had never had safety before, and here I am with this incredibly safe person in a safe home, living a safe life, and it was almost like my mind could not comprehend it. And I did say a lot of curses. So what curse am I rebuking? And I've rebuked them all. Like, what curse should I be removing? Like, how do you know what curse needs to be removed? And I'm just using myself as an example for anyone, because how do you know what curse needs to be removed and what you need to approach? And how do you do that without, because my thought is, if I approach this, I might not mentally be able to handle it on my own. So how do you do that? And we're in an area, there aren't many people that believe, in deliverance. And there aren't many. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere, Florida, but I know God has us here for a purpose, and I don't want to.
Isn't that where the music comes up now and it says, well, come next week and see the next chapter, because that's what it says.
I was just about to say, it literally ends the chapter with how to remove these restricting curses will be taught in the following chapters.
I was gonna say something. Never thinking that as a married couple that some curses could be on the other person, your partner, your spouse, and that when he was prayed for, that maybe his wife should have been prayed for too. Now that she feels like he got freed from whatever it was, but now she's got something. I mean, I never thought about that before, but it talks about us being one flesh when you're married, and You know, I just never thought about that before, that you could actually be having a curse on both of them, you know, the man and the wife, you know.
Well, and we've talked about with Freemasonry, because we have Freemasonry in my background, and as far as we know, but she was getting things concerning Freemasonry going through deliverance, and so it's like, oh, okay, is it because we're a had, you know, is that on her? And it's still a
We
question.
still don't know that we have that answer.
But Angela, if I could, Olga, I'm sorry, Olga, if I could answer yours with a quick testimony, and I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about curses, and you know, it was the first question: what curses have you realized? And I prayed. It's been like a week where I pray. It's like, you know, yeah, show me what these curses are. If there's anything that I need to get before you, if there's anything that I need to ask you to break off, you know, please bring them to mind. And then I've been so busy all week, not only with work,
That's
but
an understatement.
yeah,
It's been good.
it's been amazing. Like, you know, and just making sure that I'm as steeped in scripture as I possibly could be at any point during the day. And then to be going through teaching last night and then to go, hey, there's the curses you spoke over yourself. So so the short answer is, and I know it often sounds like an easy answer or an answer that someone's just trying to pawn off, but getting in the word and praying about it and letting the Holy Spirit reveal it to you in his time, I think is super important. Because I was that day going, I don't even feel like he heard me, because I was working at the time, you know. So it was like, oh, hey, yeah, can you show me this while I'm doing my job, you know? And then it took being patient, and just all of a sudden I'd forgotten I prayed it until we were talking about it last night, and it was that immediate download of, these are the curses you spoke over yourself, you got to get rid of them. So that's my
Well, Olga, I sent you 2 prayers from Jules, because I think that they do apply to you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I just keep hearing, and maybe I need to send them to Claire as well, but that since you guys had both been in ministry and then boom, it fell, and that there were enemies created, which we know that these people against us are really the enemy working through others. It's the enemy that's against us. But that their words and curses have been allowed to operate over you. So I sent her prayers in Messenger to you. And Claire, if you want them, I'm glad to send them. I mean, I'm sure you've seen them, but I'm glad to send them to you as well.
Yeah, send them, please.
Sure. And I was reminded actually of this last night and Drew and I spoke about it. I spoke with a young girl. She was the last one I talked to. No, you need to go. She was 26. I understand. You need to go. She was 26. And I mean, long and short, her parents got married because they got pregnant with her. She's the oldest, I think she said, of 7. And they range from 26 down to 7 years old. What are my words? While pregnant, at least her mom, but I think it was mom and dad, came to faith. And they had a deliverance ministry, or they worked in deliverance ministry, something along those lines. And then in the last 2 years, there's been a divorce, there's been abandonment, there's been rejection, there's been just breakdown. And I was telling Drew about it, and I said, this is something that we really need to be praying hard against, because it's happened in this girl's family. It's happened in your family. It's happened with Tim and Claire. And we need to stay on top of it, because this is real. It is spiritual warfare. The enemy is after those bringing others closer to Yah. Is this possibly a good place to stop recording?
Yeah.
Don't get off though.
Before we start a new thread of chunk conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and stop.